Right.
Literally everyone while watching Bran being voted for king.
Yeah. Jesus Christ.
Oh boy. Oh my God. What? West of Westeros?
Oh, yes.
And we can, okay. So, everybody, here, let me get to the chat here. I got to get to the bottom. So, we're going to have to end it here. I am so sorry, folks, but many super chats and I still have some. I will read them all. There will be a square up tomorrow, 12 p.m. Pacific time, Nerdrotic Nooner. I will be back. We can talk about it more. Thank you again for joining me, Doomcock, again. We'll be back next Sunday right here with the Inquisition. And there will be more Game of Thrones talk because The Last Watch is going to air and it's a documentary and we'll see what gems Dan and Dave say in this one.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. A bunch of crap that they will lay down trying to justify their ridiculous decisions.
Some nobody says at Nerdrotic, 5 million HBO subs now. Losing 100K would be ruinous. Unsub from HBO it's just like signing the petition. Even I would say forever, but even if it's for like a month or something like that, it would send the message. It would truly send the message. It would just save you a few bucks. Unless you watch, and honestly, I don't know, maybe somebody watches a bunch of stuff there. I don't watch anything but Game of Thrones on HBO. Philip A. Demick, thank you. And again, anybody who sent a super chat, thank you so much. And I will square them up tomorrow at noon. You have my promise. I did it last week too. And I gotta see Mrs. Nerdrotic now. So there is a time limit on these things. So I do apologize. Thank you so much. And again, Doomcock, great job, man. Great job.
Thank you, sir. You too. It's going to be wonderful doing the Inquisition with you every Sunday night. It's going to be a blast.
Yes. And look for a review video from Doomcock. One for me on Tuesday. I got a video coming out tomorrow. And what else? Go to nerdrotic.com for my live stream schedule. Don't forget that. Thank you to all new subscribers. And when and if we ever hit 100K, I'm going to do something really cool. So there's going to be a celebration-y kind of thing. So until we meet again, which is tomorrow, I've changed my outro to "May the free folk sing songs of your greatness, no kneelers."
I had hoped at that moment that Arya walking up would mean more than that. I didn't want her to go after Dany personally because I actually like her arc this season and that she's been turning away from her vengeance angel type persona and away from her list. But it just seemed strange to me that they paralleled them in a way that ultimately didn't lead to anything.
Yeah.
But I will say, how did all of those Unsullied come back?
Yeah. We were discussing that last episode.
They have
How
so many Unsullied now.
They was hiding.
They explained that, but not very well. In was it the last episode or the episode before where they're like, only half of our Dothraki are gone. Only half of our Unsullied gone.
They were like, look, you couldn't see the Battle of Winterfell anyway, so you don't know where anyone was.
Yes, I mean, in the episode, it looked like they were just decimated, and we'd have like a few hundred of each, and it seemed like they're like, only half were.
Well, doesn't he say thousands? Doesn't Grey Worm say that there's thousands of Unsullied?
Yeah. Well, even in the post-episode interview for the Battle of Winterfell episode, he was like, you're essentially seeing the end of the Dothraki. But we weren't. So I'm just a little confused by the logistics, sort of like Grey Worm getting to the top of the stairs.
How did he get to the top of the stairs? John just left him.
We don't have time for, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so. Because he had to kill people. Yeah. So he was even more delayed than John just simply walking through.
There were like 6 more throats to slit in that line.
Yeah, man, had a lot to do. Yeah, there must be like a secret entrance for Grey Worm to get to where he's going. A lot of chat is reflecting the same thing. A lot of anger, a lot of positive comments. So it's an interesting situation here. Breaking Bad had a better ending, some people say. Worst ending ever. Someone said, how come Arya didn't use her face powers? All of that wasn't used. Like, why didn't she do that? Yeah, what was the whole setup for all of that?
Also, it's easy to compare it to Breaking Bad because Breaking Bad ended years ago. We're all coming to this really, really fresh. So I would encourage people not to label it as the worst, even if you didn't like it, because we all know Quantum Leap was the worst finale, okay?
Wow, there's a reference.
Dexter
for you
wants to
kids
talk
out
to you
there.
about that.
I don't know. That Seinfeld finale.
That was pretty bad.
Well, because it was just all it was a best up, right?
Yeah.
They just, like, brought
I
people
think this
back.
has a Sopranos vibe to it. I think people will be as split with this as they were on the Sopranos one. Danny, I love the way Danny came out. I was supporting my point of view on Danny. As a military leader, making her decisions, she wants to build the world. And she says, she has the conversation, well, we'll get to that conversation. I don't want to jump the gun yet. First, she comes out and says to everyone in that fantastic black outfit, my God, I haven't felt that great about a black outfit since Black Panther's outfit when he came out as the king. So seeing her walk out like that with all her power and her strength fully embraced now and telling the Dothraki and the Unsullied, thanking them both for what they helped her do, and that she's still talking about breaking the wheel, and she wants to break the wheel all over the world. And that, to me, is a positive. She wants to liberate men, women, and children. Yes, she's saying that as the carnage is still fresh in front of her, but she still has this intention to do this. Then Tyrion walks up, takes his hand thing off, trying to kind of judges her, because she says, you committed treason, you let your brother go. He says, yeah, I let my brother go, but you killed innocents. So, Dennis, this seems, I don't know, this seems weird for Tyrion to have the high ground in this situation, but they gave it to him.
Why not? I mean,
because he lists all the things he did when he's there in the jail cell just a little bit later. No one is without sin in this situation.
No, of
He
course,
never
but-
massacred a city.
Yeah, exactly. I
His
mean, the
decisions led to her massacring a city.
Well, his decision, a lot of his poor decisions was his loyalty and his belief, like he mentions in that conversation with Jon Snow,
Right.
in Daenerys. And that has led to this point. I mean, he has done some bad things, but he has never done anything like Daenerys has. And I actually like this whole front part with Tyrion and Jon and Daenerys, just because you're seeing Jon Snow, like, he's conflicted on what to do, because it is. And I think Tyrion at the very end, before Jon leaves, plays the family card, and that's the card that I think eventually turns Jon and has him kill Daenerys, because I think before that, I think he still was going to go with her, and this whole liberating and breaking the wheel. She is the wheel. What was she talking about?
I disagree thoroughly.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Maybe that's why you were more upset when she died. Because no way, she is the wheel. She's everything that she's been talking about how she's going to destroy, and she's become that.
Okay.
Agree. And I will say, before we leave behind the Tyrion scene, I don't know if we're going to talk about that more. I did like that his winning advice was to care for your family, because that's the most Lannister advice you can give, is put your family before everything.
But it's also the most Stark.
Yeah,
and they're
true.
the two houses that from the beginning are kind of set up to be at odds with each other, but they operate very similarly. And I know toward the end, Jon has feelings about how the Starks resolve the situation, which could be read as a very Lannister way to go about things. And there's a lot of really interesting parallels between houses that used to be enemies or have traditionally been enemies. Even you were talking about Dany's black outfit, with the exception of when she's in Winterfell, pre-Battle of Winterfell, she's always dressed dark this season. It's a very like Luke Skywalker in Return of the Jedi way to show us that she's sort of embracing her darkness
But
now.
I don't know a leader that does not believe that they know the right way to do things. All leaders feel this way. America has bombed Japan thinking we were in the right. America has held slaves. America has destroyed Native Americans, men, women, and children, because we thought we were right, and yet we still like our country. So to me, what Dany did, yes, it was terrible, but Dany was trying to build a better world. She didn't get a chance to do it because Johnny Boy got a whisper of the snake in his ear and killed her. And so to me, that bothers me on so many levels. And I may be the only person on my own island over there in Iron Island believing this to be the truth. But this is how I felt about it. But in this moment, she names Grey Worm commander of forces. She says she wants to liberate the then Jon and Arya have this exchange, Haley, and she says, Jon says she's everyone's queen now. And Arya kind of, I think, doing a little foreshadowing, says, tell that to Sansa, you know, of what we're going to see way later on here. But then Jon and Tyrion have their conversation when they're in the prison, when he's in the jail cell, because Dany puts him in prison, and they talk about, you know, Jon's death, make a little joke about it. Jon thinks the war's over, and here's where Tyrion starts the convincing of Jon to do his bidding, in essence, and he says, do you listen to her, how she spoke? She doesn't think does she sound like she's done fighting? So you look at the scene, thoughts, that's what I would say.
Well, I mean, obviously we're on very different sides here. I mean, all those things you just listed from American history are things that we look back as atrocities. They're not things that we revere our culture for. So I wouldn't, you know, I'd say that what Daenerys did was also an atrocity and not a good way to rule. I like their bond. Like you said, Ashley, I do think it shows the parallels between the Starks and the Lannisters, and really, even in the books, going back to the first one, it is set up as sort of this war between the Starks and the Lannisters. It really all starts with them, and it makes sense that it kind of ends with them as well. I thought it was a lovely scene. Mostly, there were things when he's like, "Dany is not her father." I'm like, what? Did you see the last? She's worse. He was only gonna firebomb the city when he was losing it. She had just won it, and she did it. She's absolutely her father, and then some. So Jon was still being know-nothing Jon Snow at the moment. I'm glad Tyrion could talk him out of that a little bit. But I thought it was a really, just a really well-acted scene, a really well-acted episode across the board.
Yeah, no denying that.
All my complaints for this season, none of them go to the actors who've done remarkable work. And I think this episode showed off Peter Dinklage really well.
Oh, they've been going for a couple episodes really hard to get him another Emmy.
Yeah,
and the
absolutely.
Emmys traditionally during the last season of the show just rain down awards upon. So like we're going to see Game of Thrones sweep the Emmys because it's the last season.
But go ahead,
Real quick, I also like that Tyrion owned it and said, I betrayed my best friend and watched him burn.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if because of the time limits if that would weigh on him, and I'm glad we got to have that moment.
But that's his gimmick, and this is what frustrates me. This is Tyrion all the time. I messed up. I feel sad for me. It drives me nuts already. Own up to your shit and kill yourself. Like I just. You kill a lot of people. Take care of your business.
No, that's not. No,
I'm saying
that's not okay thing to say.
I can say that.
Going full
That's my
dragon.
opinion. It's my opinion. That's what I feel. But let me ask you both this situation, because it occurred to me, and maybe I'm stupid for feeling this way, but I'm watching.
No one is stupid for however they feel.
I'm watching
no one is
two
stupid.
dudes decide what this woman, the fate of this woman.
This book
the
is
optics of it are
written
terrible.
by an old white man. The two showrunners are two white dudes.
That's what I'm getting
I don't
at.
know what anyone expected.
Well, I'm asking the women on the panel, am I misreading this? Am I trying to be too woke or whatever it is? But I'm watching two dudes decide what the fate should be of this woman. Two lesser dudes deciding what should be the fate of this queen. And I think it's ridiculous.
I mean, I don't think it's ridiculous because I think Dany is at a point where she needs to be taken down, put in her place. I don't know, but she needs a level of like guidance that she's not willing to accept. And for the rules that we know of this world, when you act in hubris, you get killed.
Okay, but
and so for me, it does not. And like Dany is not a character that I particularly liked. I was pretty sure she was going to die, so I was not moved nor surprised by this personally. And it doesn't mean it's the right choice. It just means that when I watched it, I was like, okay, so she's going to die. Great.
Okay,
that's all.
Yeah, I don't think there's. If it was a man, I think they'd be having that same conversation.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, my big